Have you ever wondered why you can't see in the dark? You wake up and your room is all dark, okay, and gloomy and everything, and you can't see anything. It's only until you actually reach a light switch or you draw the curtain that you can see much better. Want to know more? Let's find out. Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Science with Mr. N. I am Mr. Nazri, and here I am going to talk to you about light and shadow. Okay, today's topic is about light and shadows, and we are going to take a closer look at what makes us able to see. Okay, and we are going to actually cover these lesson objectives. Number one, we have to recognize that light is a form of energy, and to identify what are sources of light. Okay, to recognize that the sun is our main source of light during the day, and state that we need light in order to see. Okay, contrary to popular belief, our eyes don't emit light. Okay, we need light to enter our eyes, but we will talk more about it in just a while. We can also need to infer that objects can be seen if they can reflect light. Some questions to ponder. Number one, why do we need light? As the answer, of course, is quite self-explanatory, we need light to be able to see. Sources of light, we're going to cover it in just a while. And how are we able to see the objects around us? Earlier on, I was in a dark room, or rather the lab was dark. I switched off all the lights and I drew all the curtains, and so it was pretty dark. Well, not actually very dark. You can still see a little bit here and there. That's because there were light actually coming through the bottom of the curtains and in between the window panes and so on. But by and large, when I drew the curtain, light came in from the outside, okay, and I am able to see myself. Okay, we need light to be able to see. Okay, light is a form of energy, and we need light to see things all around us. An object can only be seen, okay, when light is present, and this is very important. Okay, when there's no light reflecting off the object, we are not able to see the object. Our eyes are not emitting light. Our eyes are not giving out light. Okay, we are not Superman. Okay, we don't have laser vision. But of course, a tiny tidbit of information, actually what comes out from Superman's eyes is not actually laser per se, but it's actually heat vision. That's why he is able to cut through metal and so on. But let's put that all aside. Okay, even Superman needs light to be able to see. That's because light needs to be able to reflect the object into his eye. There are generally two ways by which we are able to see an object. Some objects give off light, they are light sources, and some object can also be visible when it reflects the light falling on it. Objects that give off light are known as sources of light. During the day, the sun is our main source of light. The sun gives off its own light. At night, we use other sources of light to help us see. Although most of the things around us are not sources of light, we can still see them. This is because these things reflect light into our eyes. How are you able to see me now? Those of you viewing me at home, how are you able to see me? That is because light from the top, okay, light from the ceiling, light from the ceiling lamps, okay, reflect down onto me, onto my shirt, onto my body, onto the backdrop here, okay, reflect off these objects and into the camera and record it, and you are able to see us. Okay, when light bounces off something, we say that light is reflected. Okay, and this diagram shows exactly what happens. There is a source of light right here. It could be the sun, it could be a torchlight, it could be anything that gives off light, anything that is a light source. Okay, light is emitted, and I use the word emitted, E-M-I-T, emitted. Okay, past tense emitted. Light is emitted from the light source. Okay, reflected off the object. Okay, and the light simply gets into our eye for our brain to process, for our optic nerves to process at the back of our eyeballs. Yeah, that's how we are able to see. Okay, now, as you have mentioned before, the sun is a source of light, but what about at night? At night, you are able to see the moon. Okay, but the moon is not a source of light. The moon reflects sunlight. The moon reflects sunlight into our eyes. So basically, the moonlight that we see is actually coming from the sun itself. You may be wondering, you don't see the sun at night, okay? But the sun is huge. The sun is huge, and there's a lot of light emitted of it. Some of it reflects off the moon that we can see into our eye. Okay, the moon does not give off light, but it becomes visible when the light falling on it reflects to our eyes. Okay, let's have a bit of a recap, shall we, before we end part 1 of today's lesson. Draw in the picture below to explain how the eye is able to see the lamp. When the lamp is switched on, how are we able to see the lamp? Okay, that's because the lamp is a source of light. The lamp emits light. Okay, the light rays, the light energy basically goes into our eyes and we are able to see it. But what about a marble? How are we able to see the marble? And just like how you are able to see me right now, light is emitted from the lamp, reflected off the object, in this case, reflected off the marble, and it goes into our eye. Say that together with me. Reflected off. The use of the proper phrasal verb is very important in this particular topic. Okay, reflected off the object into our eye. Okay, and that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up today's lesson on light and shadow part 1. Stay tuned and join me again for part 2, where we talk about shadows, how they are formed, and how they can become bigger, and how they can decrease or increase in size. Yep, stay tuned.